Hey guys, insight number 4. We just did insight number 3 talking about King Josiah. This is also talking about King Josiah. So if you haven't seen that one, go watch that one first because this will tie in. So Isaiah here is the prophet. So this is Isaiah's time. So Isaiah is the prophet while Josiah is the king. Isaiah calls Judah, the whole of Judah, the tribe of Judah in Israel, in Jerusalem, on their covenant keeping. He calls them up. He's like, come on, you could be better at this. This is also Josiah's, we just talked in the last one about Josiah, there's people finding this role of scripture about talking about the covenants that Moses put covenant Israel under, that they all committed together to do together, so the law of Moses. And he delighted in that as scripture. So this is him instigating it to the people. He took it to the people like he did with a lot of things and discussed and put it to the people and said, I believe this is the right thing to do. Will you all do this with me? And because he was who he was and the kind of king that he was, they were all like, yeah, of course. We absolutely, if you believe in it, we'll give it a try. We will covenant with the Lord to live this law of Moses. Just that Isaiah comes in and gives them a little, come on, you guys can do this. First, he's as the prophet there, he does have some things to say. But in 31 and 32, this is Josiah standing up. So this is 2 Chronicles 34. Remember, Chronicles is like the prophetic story place, whereas Kings is the historical story place. Yeah, so they go together. This pairs nicely with... So 2 Chronicles 34-ish pairs around 2 Kings 23. And they just head up together. But this is verses 31 and 32 of 2 Chronicles 34, okay? It says, and the king, that's King Josiah, stood in his place and made a covenant before the Lord, to walk after the Lord and to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all his heart and with all his soul, to perform the words of the covenant which are written in this book. Eventually this book, but in that point they were talking about the book of scripture they had. And he caused that all were present in Jerusalem and Benjamin to stand to it. And the inhabitants of Jerusalem did according to the covenant of God, the God of their fathers. And it goes on to say that Josiah took out all the abominations and got rid of it all. So he made this really lovely place to go. And in chapter 35, they actually have a Passover, and he reinstigates the Passover, not just holiday celebrations, which a lot of people would call it now, but the actual whole thing, the tradition of it, the ceremonies of it, which are totally beautiful. And, we could really take a lot out of that to learn how to better prepare for the Sabbath. I know as Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a lot of us really don't think about Sunday until Sunday morning. We could really learn a lot about preparing from the Sabbath from the Old Testament, from the Book of Mormon, from the New Testament, preparing for the Sabbath. There's a lot we could learn. I'm sure the lovely Jewish people out there right now could teach us a lot about preparing for the Sabbath. It'd be great. We could all do better at that. But at this point, we're going to talk about how do you stand in your covenants, because right there they stood to make these covenants, and then they had to live in them. So how do you live/stand in your covenants? So Josiah, having destroyed all the false gods, finds the scripture, wishes the people once again to make covenants with God. And then in chapter 35, as I said, goes on to have a Sabbath. So here the people covenant the same promises to God that Moses first presented to Israel. So, do you need to renew some covenant keeping? Do you need to look over it and think, what is it I covenanted again? Am I aware of that? We did talk about this a couple of months ago, I think now, about, do we know your covenants? Are you aware of what they are? Are you keeping them? Do you need to go over them again and just make sure that you're not missing something? For a lot of us, the temples are reopened and we can do that. For some of us, like here, we're waiting for a few more months yet. But we can still go over the covenants we know, and you can see those out of the temple, and just make sure that you're doing everything that you can actually be doing as a covenant-keeping person. Are you missing something? There's always something we can work on. And always remember, again, here, we do not beat up on ourselves for failing today or yesterday. We just move forward knowing we're going to do better. And we just do a little bit better every day. We don't beat up on ourselves about the past. That's not what we do around here. We're all about making it better and doing better going forward. Okay? So don't go beating up on yourself, because I'll come slap you one. Alright, so whatever, any kind of upheaval occurs in your life, the safest place to be spiritually is living inside your temple covenants. That is President Nelson talking. Whenever any kind of upheaval occurs in your life, and boy, is there not upheaval right now for literally everyone on the planet, the safest place to be spiritually is living inside your temple covenants. Obviously, the safest place to be physically, like today in New Zealand, when the weather looks like, I'm going to show you for a second, when the weather looks like that, doesn't slide my nice warm home. That's physically. Spiritually, I still need to be living and standing in my temple covenants, or in any covenants that I've made. Emotionally, the safest place for me today is to just do what I can, and that's the same for everyone. So again, don't beat up on yourself in the past. What can you do better in the future? What can you look at and think, I could do better at that, and then do better at that? So have a look at that. I love that. All right, so we're going to jump back to 2 Kings chapter 25, and look at the scattering of Israel and see the point where that links up with 1 Nephi and Lehi leaving Jerusalem. That's the point. It happens. Okay, I'll see you there.